So they finally did it. We finally got to see some clear-cut gameplay of Tears of the Kingdom, and it looks really, really cool. I think experimentation is sort of the big action statement when talking about Tears of the Kingdom, and I think that goes on the side of development, and I also think that goes on the side of how Nintendo is approaching this game and how Nintendo is selling this game to the consumers. I absolutely love some of the powers that they showed during this little segment, during this 10 minutes of gameplay. The vehicle building looks so simple, but so intuitive and so easy just to makeshift things. You know, I need to get across this river, bop, 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 plant this stuff down, let's go. I'm assuming that is also going to be expanded upon in wild ways as well. That's like one thing that was made clear in this 10-minute segment was, if you can do this, that means that you can do that. Aonuma literally said that himself, and I think that is, again, goes towards the big statement of experimentation. They want the player to make weird shit. They want the player to post that weird shit on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and I think that's a good play. You know, Breath of the Wild has definitely had long legs because of that experimentation, because of the weird and wacky things that you could do to kind of break the game in ways, and I think Nintendo's actually okay with that, which is kind of a different side of Nintendo that we haven't really seen before. You know, them catering to like a social media aspect of a game. That's new, and again, very, very exciting. The weapon fusing, I think, is a very interesting way to sort of combat the durability haters. There are a lot of people that hate their weapons breaking in this game. I've never really, to be totally honest, it's never been an issue for me. I've never really even thought of it that way. I found that there are weapons everywhere in the world, and yeah, it does suck when your favorite sword breaks. That does hurt, but there's another sword, you know, a couple of miles away, or in some chest, or in some cave that's even better than the one you just broke. So it's never really been an issue, but weapon fusing is so cool. It is so cool, and the way they showed it off, combining just a big boulder with a stick creates this big like club. That's really cool. We saw a shield that had a mushroom on it that when hit, it spreaded gas everywhere, and you were able to do like a sneak attack on an enemy now. Just the idea of that, combining different mushrooms with shields. There's got to be poison mushrooms, right? There's got to be exploding mushrooms. That's going to be a thing. And just picking shit up off the ground and combining it with the weapon you already have in your hand is really, really cool. I would love to see this stuff done mid-combat. Is that a possibility where, you know, I'm fighting a slew of enemies and my weapon's about to break and I could just fuse my weapon with someone else's and then suddenly I have this bigger weapon? That's really, really fun and kind of emergent and very, again, it's all about experimentation. It's all about just giving the player the power to do the things that they want to do, I guess. And they're kind of doing it here. It's kind of working for me. Seeing the giant, massive spear thing and just like being able to hit enemies from 12 feet away is super cool. Combining different gooeys or whatever, I can't remember the name of the little slime bubble things, combining different monster parts basically to arrows, enable them to have different powers like ice or like homing arrows, and I'm sure there's even crazier things. What happens when I put a stake on an arrow? What happens when I put a bird feather on an arrow? You know, what are the things that happen here? And I think that is just an exciting prospect. That's sort of, I want to just like play this game for hours and hours and just experiment and just do weird shit. So yeah, they showed off the Ultra Hand, which is used to like move objects around. The Ultra Hand, by the way, is a ridiculous name for a cute little mechanic. I'm sure the Ultra Hand has other functions as well, because that's just way too badass for just making vehicles. But yeah, they showed off the Ultra Hand. They also showed off an ability called Ascend, where you're able to go through crevices, I guess, in ceilings and then come out the other side. I was kind of curious on how that one works. I love the animation of like Link swimming through like a void to get to the top of a cave or whatever. That's really, really cool. They also showed off Recall, where you're able to rewind objects that have fallen from the sky. And we all kind of had an idea of what was happening when we, you know, jumped on top of a giant boulder and it flew up. That's awesome. I'm curious, what other functions do those things have? How far are we able to recall something? That's really, really cool. Could I possibly break something and then rewind it and then have that object again? Could I chop down a tree and then rewind it and that tree would go back up? The amount of ideas that are at play here and the amount of, I want to see puzzles. I want to see, are we getting shrines in this game? I feel like we're missing a big through line of like, yeah, this is cool for traversal, but what am I actually doing here gameplay wise? How do I get to point A to point B, and how do you utilize those abilities to make the game fun? That's what has me extremely curious, is like, what's the goal here? Yeah, we have all these fun abilities and we're doing all these fun things, but for what exactly? I think a game that is just about experimentation gets a little boring quick, in my opinion, and I think you do need really interesting puzzles and really interesting obstacles where you do have to think outside the box with some of these abilities, and I'm excited to see that stuff. I'm curious, are there dungeons? Are we going to see a big castle dungeon? Are we going to see a water dungeon? Is that something that exists in this game? If I'm being totally honest, I'm a little bit doubtful, but then when I start thinking like, well, what are we doing in this game? What are the actual goals here? There's Sky Islands now, Skylands, that exist. We can be a Skylander and float to island, but like, what are we doing on these islands? What's the point of getting up there? No story details, no world details, really. I feel like I've gotten the primary, sense that I've gotten from this game is it is very much Breath of the Wild. It is very much that same open world, but there's just more shit to do now. And there's nothing really wrong with that, but we have, waited 5-6 years for this game to release. It was announced a while ago, and I'm kind of curious, like, I don't know. Obviously, that's a weird question to sort of propose. Like, well, what have they been doing with all that time? Like, that's a goofy conversation, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I don't know how game development works. I don't know what they've been doing with their time. However, this is the hook, right? The customization, the experimentation, that's the hook. But what's the point of that hook, I guess? What are we actually doing in the game? I do hope we see just like another 10-minute video like next month. Maybe they do one every month, before launch. There'll be 2 more then. Just 2 more 10-minute videos where, okay, we showed you those powers. Let's show you a little dungeon. Let's show you how you can utilize those powers in a story mission, in some kind of goal that we need to achieve. Let me show you how to get here to there. I hope we see stuff like that. I hope we just see more ideas and options and just more ways to progress the game forward. And why are we progressing the game forward? That's sort of what I want to see. But all in all, I'm impressed. I think this game looks ridiculously fun. I think it's going to be a blast. Give me your thoughts. What do you think? I can't really gauge the consensus. This trailer, this 10-minute thing came out a couple of days ago now, and I'm trying to figure it out. Like, are people poo-poo on this? Do they not like this? Are people excited for this? I've kind of heard a lot from both camps. Both camps are very vocal and very passionate. A lot of people still hate the durability thing. They're still barking up that tree. I don't know. Give me your thoughts and let me know how you feel. I think this game could be really good. I really do.